Dobar dan, guys.
Dobar dan.
So today we're in Bribirska Glavica, in the basically abandoned village around it of Bribir. This place was hugely important in Croatian history. The seat of the princes of Šubić, and the ruin of the Roman Hillfort, and also Illyrian before that, is up this hill. There's like some mosaics over there, probably the remains of a villa. It was a huge fortress city back in the day. So we'll also check that out, and maybe we'll see what's inside some of these cool abandoned buildings. Now, there are signs of life here. It's not like the other abandoned village we went to, but it's basically abandoned. So we'll see if we find anything cool to look at. This looks like an old state house almost. Like there's like a crest on here.
Yeah, but
I don't think we can get inside. Somebody owns it, obviously. Oh, someone took the crest off. Some kind of circular rock formation here. But it looks like it's on purpose. Wonder what purpose that served back in the day. Maybe it's like a burial ground. Oh yeah, you see something over here. It's an interesting looking stone. Don't know. Hard to find information on this place. So these walls are interesting. See these giant blocks that they fit together like this? It's done with no mortar. And is actually older than where you see the smaller blocks. The smaller blocks are probably Roman, medieval era, because after that, the Illyrians built these giant monolithic walls. You can see they've been here for thousands of years. Someone came and filled in the cracks, but when these were originally built, there was nothing in between these. So it looks like there was some restoration done. You get a really good view of the valley here. But yeah, these walls used to be massive. And a lot of ruins and castles and things, they're kind of in the state that they are, not from just like over time, but like people over time, they reuse the bricks, you know. Because back in the day, 500 years ago, if you needed to build a house, you wouldn't care that there used to be an old Roman fort up on a hill. All you would be like, well, nobody lives there anymore. Let's go take those bricks. It's pre-made. Looks like there used to be. It's pretty interesting. So this is all Roman, probably. So when the Romans had it, they called it Varvaria. I don't have a drone, so here's an overhead shot. I am thinking about getting one, but as you can see, it's this whole massive area on top of this hill. Yeah, let's go give it an explore. But yeah, you can see there's no tourists here. They actually have a sign, which is kind of surprising. I think there actually is a museum, but it's closed. Well, I don't think they would be making much revenue anyways. Let's go check out what's over here. So this place there's evidence that it dates back to like over 5,000 years, which is really interesting to me because how many people, how many stories that you'll never know like took place here. It sounds corny, but to me it's really interesting, really cool. Hopefully it is to you guys too. I'm under the newer abandoned stuff is really cool too, but to me this is also really interesting. So let's go check it out. Like how many people walked on these ancient steps. That might have been like an exit to the fortress or one of the side entrances to the city. You can see these super old stones here. Remains of a tower. Yeah, check it out. Found the first mosaic. I have the ancient flooring.
Would you imagine how hard mosaic
Right.
because they are not flat.
And they're almost all like almost the same size.
They are actually pinned in the soil.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who knows how deep they are in.
You can see where the original foundations were. Let me climb up. So there's your mosaic. You can see original foundations, how they're much lower. And kind of get an idea of how big this place is. It encircles this whole hilltop. So I believe this part is more Roman. You can see remains of bricks here. It's crazy because there's evidence of so many different time periods in this place, from Illyrian to Roman, well, Illyrian, Roman, medieval, even pre-Illyrian, all the way up until like 10th century. There's another mosaic over there, we'll go check that out. Maybe this was their old storage cellar. I think this might have been a villa at one point.
This part, Roman villa, possibly.
Because the mosaics were reserved for, obviously, the richer Romans. Good view on this one. So you can see what's left of this. Crazy, it's just out here in the open. You know, like no big deal. You can kind of see some of the patterns here. Check this out.
Okay, this one is destroyed.
This one's a lot more intricate. So here's the remains of a church. That looks like there might have been a crypt underneath it at one point. What century did that say?
13.
13th century. So let's check it out. I wonder what that was. Maybe an entrance to a crypt.
Really nice.
That's cool.
What do you think? Is it a bird or helmet? This shape.
So they call this place the Croatian Troy because it was kind of the center of the Croatian kingdom in the 13th century. And this church, being from the 13th century, kind of speaks to that. For this time frame in Croatia, this is a really large church. And it seems like it was probably super intricate back in the day. And the size of the fortress itself, from going from Illyrian to Roman to obviously Croatian, there's a ton of history here. But it's not been excavated so much like a lot of other places in Croatia, and also it's kind of hard to find history of the place. At least a detailed history of it. But you can guess as to how much there is. Hey, I found something underground over here.
Where?
Over here. Let's see what it can lead to. Yeah. You guys know I love tunnels. Let's go check it out. Okay, so it's been walled off. Actually, this might have been just an old foundation of some sort of building. Yeah, maybe what was underneath the church at one point. So these bricks here, they used to fill in this with metal to have like a really secure connection to the other. But like I said, a lot of the bricks here were just placed on top of each other with no mortar. So these people must have been a big deal in the partisans or Yugoslavia itself to have a huge 5-pointed star for the tombstone. So what did you say about this?
I'm not sure about it. Was it chapel or a bone shed? Like
So
place where collective bones were stored back in the days.
Where people were poor. They
Yeah, they didn't have graves of their own, so
somebody's got their rakia back here.
yeah, it might be chapel then.
So when they couldn't afford a gravesite, they would use this.
Yeah, object like this. It was like bone shed. There would be like collective bones of the people who then had like relatives or someone.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
This church has obviously been renovated. You can see how deep the original foundation was.
Probably church which is still in use, that's why they repeated it.
Yeah, the paint is really weird though.
Fixed the rooftop.
Probably done by local people.
Yeah, but it's such a pity since it's like a really beautiful example of
I think that's part of the original bell tower. Maybe even the Subiches are in here. They can tell that they made these like so heavy and huge because they didn't want grave robbers, and it doesn't look like this place was ever grave robbed. Interesting. That's a really old church. Yeah, that's an Orthodox cross.
yeah.
So, coming up at the peak here, looks like a large, what used to be a large watchtower. Possibly even Illyrian or Roman temples in the area. Yeah. There was probably a large tower, or maybe even a temple. There's a gate. You can picture it. The site itself is, well, it's impressive to me, but if you came here with little to no knowledge, it wouldn't be so interesting. I'm not sure if this is going to make the cut, guys, for you. I mean, for me, it's really interesting. And if it does make the cut, I really appreciate you watching. And I'm glad you find it as interesting as I do. But yeah, you see, it's a great view, if anything. So the whole top of this hill there's no wall on this side because there's a cliff. So they use the natural side here. There's an old castle on that hill over there. That's a cool little castle. Maybe we'll head over there. Doesn't seem too far off. Yeah, the tower. So all the way up to the 17th century, the Venetians were here. Interesting. Thousands and thousands of years of history. I guess here's some of the more intact stones they found. They made a bench out of Roman stones.
Yeah.
These you see all over the place. You can see some inscriptions on this one.
Oh, this it says Neos.
Anybody can read Latin. Legion. I think this is something to the legions. Snail. Maybe a turtle.
Yeah, maybe I should translate it.
Anyways, guys, really appreciate you watching if you made it to the end of that one. Hope you found it as interesting as we did. And until next time, vidimo se.
Bye.